We've finally made it to day 6. This is almost the halfway point for how long our allies in 1302 and 2327 need to hold until the next pass opens. So how's it going? Stick around in this video for today's update. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. And I'm beginning to feel a bit like a weather forecaster. Every day I check in and, it's cloudy with a chance of rallies over here in this part of the map. However, I will say that it seems like 1302 has been able to put the brakes on the progress just a little bit that 1846 has been making. And I'll show you some video in just a minute of the defense they had on some forts in this particular corner. But one thing that's very important that you'll see has happened, that I said could happen, is that if 846 is able to progress really far forward, they could potentially get behind some of these forts. And that's almost exactly what's happened here. So presumably, once this front fortress burns, they'll have to build another fortress pretty far back to make sure that it can't be attacked by these flags that are now cooking from the top, okay? So these flags are angling to cut a lot of territory, and there is only like one screen width worth of area left by this pass. It's getting really freaking dicey in here, okay? Now, my assumption is that at some point, the goal is to basically have a chunk of land where you bring in all of the hardest hitting players, they all step into the field, and they try to make a play at the same time that 846 needs to be coming through this pass over here. Now, this is the pass that is closest to 1254. That's my kingdom. And if we look at who's here now, I mean, you can see they've left a lot of space available, but the alliance they have here is BFN, Burm for me. So I would assume that's not the shell that's going through the pass, because if we look at this, this is a 1.2 billion power shell. So someone is going through this pass. Someone has got to come at 1254, and I don't think it's that particular shell. I would assume that it's going to be maybe this one that's building their way over. Let's see here. Who is this? Okay, watch it burn. That makes more sense. Now, the thing that's a little crazy, though, is even if they get there, some amount of resources from these alliances is burned. That includes alliance resources and storehouse, particularly the alliance credits, getting burned down, putting up all of these forts. But also the alliances themselves have almost certainly lost a fair amount of power. If we get a look at now at 1846, they're down to 12 billion power in WIB, 11.5 billion power in Lit, 10.7 billion power in Sin. And I'd have to check and see if there's some other shell that they're also using. Maybe it's this one, Chick Bling Bling, at 6.8 billion power. Perhaps that is on the front. We can go get a peek here and see. But I think 1302 is really doing their job. Oh, DOU, maybe that's a shell that's got a bunch of players in it. Nope, 3.8 billion power, definitely not. So here you can see they're lining up for yet another rally on one of these forts. It looks like because they're coming from the top, they're able to burn both at the same time, which is very, very significant. And it's been like this pretty much nonstop for the last 6 days. Because as a reminder, we are on day 6 going into or working toward day 7. And the pass is open on Tuesday morning next week. So it's Wednesday today. I mean, they've just got to hold out for a really, really, really long time. Is it Wednesday? What day is it? Honestly, it's hard for me to keep up. Yep, it's Wednesday. So they got a lot of time left. Now, if I look to the other side of things, okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Presumably the rally will roll up. You can see that our allies in 525 have cleared the northern 80%, let's call it, of the zone, leaving the remaining, well, maybe not even 20%, maybe this is even just 10% of the zone down here. They did try to fort drop to get past the front forts, but it did not work. Mountains do funny things with that. So they tried to fort drop to get around this, to burn the flags behind it. It didn't work. It was a nice try. They are going to need to get their way through these forts, and you can see 945 is putting up resistance, which is exactly what they need to do. 1302 and 2327 is, burning through 846. And so 945 has to do the same thing over here to our allies and all of these EL shells in 525, okay? And I can look over here to the left. COKK is the fort that they're burning all the way over here, and they're actually building this fort to try to make this position a little bit more sturdy, okay? From there, they'll have to get set up around these passes and be ready to enter into the zone, because presumably 365 will come through as well. Now, before I show you some of the footage from earlier today, let's close in on this. Rally is in. Tariq ibn Ziyad, presumably with Sargon as the secondary. We've got a Zeno, hopefully Flavius is the garrison. Yeah, Zeno Heraclius I found to not be a particularly good garrison. I don't really know why. I think it's just missing damage. So it lasts a while, and hey, this guy's getting hit by AoE, so the free AoE value is super high value. That sucks to be that guy getting hit by the AoE. I think the better garrison here is probably Zeno with Flavius, but look, I'm not going to claim to know the way. I haven't garrisoned in this KVK. I haven't rallied in this KVK. I only have theories. And this KVK is different because of the auxiliary skills, which I will show you shortly after this rally ends. Oh, God, someone tried to get in there with a Matilda. Bit of a yikes. If you are filling from farms in this situation, you do want to use commanders that have hasty departure. That gives you a quick burst of speed as you try to get into the garrison. Of course, the defending players want to all stack on top of the garrison, as you see they've done here, to make it very difficult to target the garrison. The way that you get around that, if you're trying to fill the garrison, is if you have one march already in there, you can click on your march in the right-hand side and pull up the menu for the garrison. If you try to drag and drop, you're very likely to end up on an enemy's troop. The other workaround for how to handle this situation is to not have War Frenzy. If you don't have War Frenzy, and you try to drag and drop, and it accidentally targets the field instead of filling the garrison, then it will say, are you sure you want to activate War Frenzy? Which is perfect. You did not want to activate War Frenzy. You did not want to hit their march in the field with your farm. You can try again without actually having your march decimated. So that's the sort of play for how you fill in that situation. And I'll have a card up in the top for a time where I filled with my farm and lost like 10 million power in 30 minutes. I hope to be able to do the same thing in this KVK and just, I mean, look, I've got to kill all the troops on my farm. Like, I am 83 million power on my farm, and I need that to go down to like 50 million power, okay? And hey, like, if I could put, let's call it 8 million T4s, to work here on my behalf, that'd be a huge win, and that will get my farm to a far more appropriate power. Consider subscribing, by the way, if you haven't already, to see exactly when that goes down. I also have one of the stronger ranged marches in the game. I don't know. I have the 4-piece set for ranged, and we'll see if it's any good. I don't know if I can make it work with a farm. The tech is nearly maxed on my farm, so maybe it's possible. Tariq ibn Ziyad doing his thing here. Big damage should be raining down from the sky. Here it comes in just a moment. Presumably, there it is. The big skill animation, only 81,000 damage. Dude, whoever's garrisoning this is freaking stacked. Hello? To be mitigating that much damage, they've got to be absolutely stacked. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Zeno Hera, good damage mitigation. Swarm could be in any time now. For the time being, they're not swarming, so I would assume this garrison is still very, very full. And this is the sort of drain and punish that you've got to try to deliver if you're in this garrison situation. We try to see the white numbers here. It's about 14,000 on the garrison when there isn't a shield. Okay, and they're dealing about 17,000, 10,000 back to the rally. So if the white numbers are even-ish, you got to kind of look to the skill damage numbers to see who's getting the better end of that. I can only assume that the... Oh, it's a Pakal secondary. See, that feels like a mistake to me. The Tariq Pakal would get more damage in. The reason I feel like the Pakal is a bit of a mistake is because I mean, are they really worried about this rally getting swarmed? Is that actually a thing that's been happening? I haven't been watching closely enough. So if you thought your rally was going to get swarmed, the Bakal makes sense. But look at this. The Garrison is even more healthy than the rally right now, which is insane to me. I would think that the Sargon secondary is the secondary you want in this situation just to push through more damage. And, you know, Sargon was really debated. Is he worth it? Is he good? Is he bad? For a very long time. I mean, I always felt like Sargon was a great commander, both for field and for rally. So I'm sticking by my original recommendation that if you have like 4 or 5 marches at least, then Sargon is really good. I think that was my original recommendation. I don't know. It's been such a damn long time. This is going also a lot longer than I thought it was going to, which is a good thing for us spectating what's happening, and also from the perspective of our allies. I mean, the more they can stuff and drain, the better. And of course, 846 is taking the same sort of approach here of trying to fill with farms. It's just easier to fill a garrison than it is to fill a rally with your farms, you know? It's way, way, way easier. But this is going just a lot longer than I thought it would. Hello? Okay, this is kind of cool to watch. We'll see how this goes here. I mean, I'd love to get my hands on some of these reports. I would assume that one of these guys that doesn't have a bubble has War Frenzy and is the captain. Who's got a really wicked-looking infantry theme? Do you think this guy's the captain? That is, I believe, the 15% defense infantry theme, right? They might be the captain in this situation. That might be the person to ask. Oh my god. Bro, this guy's got 250 million power. Oh my god. Okay, these other guys are pretty drained. Some of these are farms. I mean, 250 million power, you want that player right next to the garrison, and you want them just to spam fill the damn thing. 131 million power over here. Hello? These guys are stacked. What? 117? 190? Now, the person you don't want spam filling is actually your garrison captain, assuming this is the garrison captain. It's too easy to accidentally retreat your garrison march from the garrison. You just want them to do the one thing and just make sure that it is working cleanly. Now the garrison's getting swarmed. Things heat up. Mocote on the swarm. Big damage going in. He's got Guan Skippy. He's got Nevsky with Joan. He's got Boudica Tommy for the debuff. Okay. XY with William on the swarm. And that does the job. Kick that garrison out of there and send them home with sad faces. That's how you burn a garrison. Whoo! If we go and do our daily Mocote power check, we can see here, oh my god, he's down to 169 million power. He was at 278 million power yesterday, right, chat? Wow. Okay, well, that's just insane. So, yeah, 1302, doing its job, draining. Insane. Good play on both sides, okay? Great maneuvering by 846. Great defense by 1302 and their allies. The only way, and I repeat this purely for my own learning, to have prevented this situation would have been if 846 built their own row of forts behind the lines. All it would have needed is to stick the landing with one of them. At the same time that the first row of forts all the way over here was being built. And then they could have been behind this row and stopped the whole thing. But this is where we are now. And it was really an incredible play by 1302. I can't overstate that was pretty damn genius. Now, if we look at what's coming to the future, I jumped ahead to the auxiliaries because we're about to get the 3rd auxiliary slot in the Orleans KVK. What does this mean? 2 things. First of all, heroes and commanders are going to be absolutely nuts. You're going to be able to put another skill onto a commander. That is a 3rd skill from another commander onto the 3rd skill of some other commander you bring into the field. And these are additional skills on top of, like, all the stuff you already do. So, you know, as an example, a 3rd skill that I'm kind of hyped about is you take someone like Edward of Woodstock, who's otherwise mostly worthless, but You could take 25% increased skill damage, and archers deal 5% more damage to infantry. That's a nice skill. You could put that onto, I don't know, how about Nebu with Zhuge Liang, right? Like that could be really nuts. But also, there's something else very important that happens, which is, if we look over here, there are a number of commanders whose skills are locked until this upcoming chronicle. You can't use them for a second skill or a third skill or anything. And that includes Cyrus, Harold, Tommy, Alexander the Great has been locked up to this point, but he will become available in a day. Khan has been locked, but will become available. Saladin will be insane. The third skill of Saladin is absolutely cracked, reducing skill damage and counterattack damage taken. Oh my god. Constantine will become available with 40% increased health. Hello. And then your Season of Conquest commanders become available in later chronicles. So you can see Sacrificial Offering is the chronicle that's about to hit. So things are going to be really crazy, but not as crazy as they will be when, dude, look at this skill. Gilgamesh, 30% health, 20% increased damage to enemy troops having fewer than 50% of units remaining. I'm just saying it's going to get spicy. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, consider doing so for continued coverage of this absolutely insane KVK. More than 15,000 people tune in to each daily video. In fact, it averages around closer to 20,000 per video. So I know y'all are really enjoying these daily updates. So thank you again for continuing to support the channel by throwing a like on each of those videos, subscribing to the channel, and watching the mayhem unfold. I mean, if these updates aren't the popcorn you're looking for, then definitely let me know down below in the comments. And if you're just catching up to this crazy KVK and wondering how exactly did we get to this position, cards will be in the end screen for the videos you need to come to speed.